Welcome back. This is Tasteless here at the Dreamhack Open in Bucharest, and I am very happy to say that we are ready to go into our first match. It will be casted by DeMuslim and In Control. Guys, take it away. This is MC versus Impact.
Thank you, Tasteless and Artosis. Super excited about this matchup, of course. We had plenty of time to talk about it, and now we have even more time. You have picked MC to win this. I think that's actually a super solid pick. Dare I say, the absolute favorite. But Dreamhack is a place where a lot of people make their name. This is where they kind of start their career, and I'm looking for that from Impact here.
They certainly do. I mean, we've seen Stardust win here. We've seen Hyun win against Jaedong. A lot of people, while you have to be absolutely amazing to get to this place, top 8, in which all of these players really are, Impact, we've really not seen a lot of him. His prize winnings in his total career have been $700, and that's pretty much because his total career has only been a few months old.
And in Korea, by the way.
And in Korea, the hardest place possible to start off your career.
Those are $700 hard-earned dollars. That is, those are gold billions, if you will. He's played against the toughest competition. That's something worth looking at, too. He's obviously spent most of his time in that Korean training house with Team Axiom, but also competing against Koreans. He's not a WCS NA or EU guy, as far as I know. He's just trying to get it done over there. In fact, Artosis hasn't told this story publicly, but he did tell me in private that Impact and Artosis have actually locked horns in a GSL Code A qualifier. And spoiler alert for people that did not know that Jon Snow was on the wall in Game of Thrones, Artosis got his ass absolutely destroyed by Impact. It was not graceful.
So, spawning in the top left of Habitation Station, which is the first map of this series, we have MC.
The delay, partly because MC was having a tough time getting into that game lobby, because game lobbies have a tough time holding $500,000 inside of it. His opponent, the top right-hand side, the Blue Zerg from Team Axiom, it is Impact. And Tasteless charged you with the task of trying to tell us where this is going to go in this game. I liked your analysis on it and that pre-game analysis. But I think part of what's going to dictate that pace, too, is going to be that gold base. Is MC the kind of guy that could do something with it as far as it being as natural? Obviously, the answer here is no. We have an early forge and a pylon. But keep your eye on it for what Impact will do with it. A lot of Zerg players will go for that, and that can be the catalyst for why MC will get even cheesier.
I like the fact that Impact is opening up a pool on this map. It's usually a pretty good hatch-first kind of map, given that you can't really cannon rush the natural too well. Minchel or MC starting off with a forge straight away. The possibility of your opponent opening hatch first, he got to see the VODs against Hero, in which that kind of happened a little bit. We saw Impact using multiple drones to fend off the possible probe. So I like the fact that MC is opening up the way that Hero did, and Hero got an advantage doing so.
And MC showing that patience, pulls in, sees that it is not a hatch first, pulls into the main, sees that there's no gas beam mine in, exits with the information. So of course he would have rather had a Nexus first, but I like this opening. It's safe against an early pool. And of course, like you said, it threatens greedy play, so MC wants to give himself that availability. He is actually even going to go cannon before gateway, just to make sure that no shenanigans happens here. Both players, even MC, who's been on the stage so many times, this one and many others like it, would like to get those butterflies out, would like to calm down, and sure, if he can secure a huge advantage, he'll take it, but he'd also like to just go into a normal game where MC feels he'll probably have more experience and be favored.
Yeah, and Impact actually sending his drone to the gold base, so taking a very, very early gold base here.
Yep,
now,
there it is.
What the gold base does is just enable you to mine so much more with the same amount of drones, so immediately Impact said, hey, you're going to have to do something about this in the next 6 or so minutes, otherwise my economy is going to spiral out of control. So Impact immediately setting the pace of this game.
And guys, you've heard us talk about this quite a bit. The map pool, of course, has been a hot button topic, not only because it's a tournament and you want to talk a lot about the maps, but because the maps have actually recently changed as well with the ladder updating. And this is one of the maps that's been around for a while. So this situation, at first glance, we look at it, it is certainly a lightning rod. It's a little bit of a, uh-oh, what is MC going to do in response to that? But it's also something MC's faced countless times before as a hard worker, and he's not going to, I would imagine, really freak out about this. What Impact is doing is very much so part of the norm. In fact, it's almost abnormal when the Zerg takes the bottom the bottom third as their third base.
And MC is coming in here to scout for the first time, so he's going to see that there isn't a third base being made here.
Yeah.
Does this probe get to the third base as at the gold? Yes, I believe it will, in which case he'll know exactly what he's up against.
Yep, he's going to choose to do that instead of checking to the natural to see if there's things like, a spine crawler to suggest defensive play, which would be really weird, or multiple queens, that kind of stuff. Instead, he wants to confirm for sure that this third base is at the gold. He could have inferred it, but it's better to be safe than sorry. And with this information, we're going to see where MC is going to take this game. We already saw the Cyberpunk score a little bit off that ramp, a little bit harder to keep an eye on if you're having Overlord scouting around for you in Zerglings. But this Stargate, it's spotted very early on, and if you are an Impact fan, this is good news. Certainly the Stargate is not shocking, but having that confirmation like this is going to give Impact the ability to perhaps absorb very little damage.
I love what MC is doing here with this Zealot and Probe, trying to make the surface area attacking this Zealot as minimal as possible. And this Zealot will eventually, in fact, will he? Yes, he will eventually die, but kills quite a few Zerglings. So with this Stargate, what is the plan for MC here?
Well, we see Oracle first. That's interesting because right now there's a bit of a divide. On larger or middle-sized maps, we see a lot more Phoenix first. They can kind of fill the role of the Oracle in that they will both harass mineral lines and scout. But they obviously don't pose as much kind of oomph to their threat. The Oracle has so much damage against light armored units, but it is going to be actually a little bit of a poke here. Double Stalker and the Motion Core going after that Queen. And this is really nice because, again, he can see the Spore Caller going up, so he's not going to waste time or energy with that Oracle over there. And if he can get a Queen, it looks like he won't be able to in fear of getting surrounded. He's going to back out of here. And these are just slow lings, so he should be safe.
Yeah, and you don't know when the slow lings are actually going to upgrade it to... Wow, using the Oracle to deal with the lings here. So this is turning into a pretty aggressive attack by MC. At first I just thought it was a poke to force the lings, but no, he's planning on killing them too.
From our perspective, you look at this and you're like, oh, that's really weird. It still very well may be weird, but it's kind of cool for MC what it does. Oh gosh, that Stalker getting surrounded is really bad. But it kind of broadcasts to Impact, hey, there could be like 6 gates behind this. I could be super aggressive. And of course, Impact with this Overlord back in the main.
Whoa, do you see where he's expanding? Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, it's okay. This is part of my analysis. He wants to kind of show off that it could be aggression, so you should be back at home defending. But instead, Impact's going to move out on the map and see that the other message that MC was trying to hide is actually taking a fast third and at the gold base.
Really aggressive expanding here by MC. I mean, we've seen expands hit at the 7-minute mark, but with one of his Stalkers dying early, and this Stalker... Wow, he was running like a race car around there, and didn't get surrounded, and all these lings will fall, but not before they pick up that Stalker, so Impact making pretty good use of these lings.
Well, I mean, pretty good given the cards he was dealt. Honestly, chasing in there, 9 times out of 10 that Stalker dies inside of there, probably the lings get out, or they start harassing the next itself. But MC with a fantastic micro there is able to prolong its life long enough where it becomes kind of questionable whether or not that was worth it. It's going to be 3 base versus 3 base, and you can see the Hydra Den for a Zerg player is just now approaching kind of 50%. Otherwise, it's been massive drones command. It's really saturating between his 3 bases, and there is no Roachborn. So this could be straight Hydra, which, if you look at the tech... Oh, actually, hold that thought. We got a lot of lings making their way in the natural. There's no sentry there, no block. They're going to have their way with these minerals.
He split them up beautifully there. Half of them went straight to the natural, half of them went to the main. Too few Zergs do that. And look, MC's mining has completely been shut down on both of these bases. So immediately, Impact is mining 2,000 minerals per minute, when MC is mining 200.
Oh my gosh, and MC just recalled his Mothership Core to a Nexus he was already next to. A misclick like this is actually devastating. It's going to, again, prolong the time that he has to be mining from that main base. And I'll tell you what's really happening here is time is being bought. Impact wants to amass a gigantic Hydra army. And you can actually see he's taking luxury here. He's going for a Roach Warren, Infestation Pit, and still more drones. So, you know what? I'm actually just completely wrong. I thought he was going to do this with the Hydra timing behind it, but it looks like those Hydras are going to be perhaps a little bit more defensive.
He's just extending his lead that he already has. He's not using this time to say, hey, I'm going to beat you very soon because I've done a lot of economic damage. He's just saying, I'm just going to get further ahead on the strength that I already have, which is, I've got a superior economy.
The Muslim, you are correct. Putting on my top hat and monocle and pretending to be British for a second here and being super critical, or
we all
cynical,
do that.
you could even say. Yeah, exactly. I would say, with that Ling run by, go for the throat, get the Hydras out there. I don't know what MC could do to deflect that. He has, and it's not even like I say Impact doesn't know this because his Zerglings trampled everywhere. They should actually know this. There is no robotics bay. There's no AoE coming out. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. The other point here, too, is something that that
Oracle does die
Tastosis
there.
Archon has been prophesizing for a long time. When you get ahead, just get further ahead. And that's what he's doing, adding drones, taking a fourth, getting Roach and Hydra, which is, again, the better composition. It just takes longer to get out.
And yeah, you're totally right. Here, you're playing, but he is playing on the main stage against a player that has a lot of experience dealing with small armies and microing very, very well. Against MC, you don't want to take that chance where you might just lose everything. But here we do have an engagement. Great force fields do go down.
Yeah, I mean, that's as good as they can get. But the problem is this is short-range sentries and even shorter-range zealots. The force fields kind of help the Zerg here as well. And he is just going to roll forward. Impact says, hey, you may have won $500,000, but I want a chunk of that change for myself this week. And he's shoving forward. Sentries are dying right and left. And MC might be able to... No, I think he's
There's
actually
not enough firepower in his army right now. Sentries cannot deal the killing blow. And this is Hydralisk and Roaches. The supply doubling MC right now. The earlier attacks in economy did far too much damage. And Impact does take the first game of the series very, very handily.
Handily and convincing, if I might say so myself. I mean, he just powered himself to a win. The one big mistake, of course, would be that Ling run by, but there's our winner right there.
And multiple mistakes were done to let that Ling run by happen, too.
Yeah.
We had, like, no block done by the Zealot, and then the Photon Overcharge just wasn't there because he recalled instead.
Yeah.
So maybe it's MC with the main stage jitters right now.
We'll see. Gentlemen, you guys are rejoining us.
Game ended there. Really interesting way that game ended there. We had MC going for that third base, and Artosis and I were watching that back over there on the couch, and we were saying, this looks a little bit risky, but I guess if he just gets the wall up, everything's going to be fine. Everything seems to make sense. But then there's no sentry at the entrance to the second base. I mean,
that's a pretty big deal, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, when he started making all those Lings, and I saw how many sentries were at the gold base, I'm like, wow, that's a huge waste of larva, a huge waste of minerals. You're not going to get anything done. And then MC simply doesn't have his wall closed.
It's kind of funny, though, because we were all thinking, including MC, the same thing, which is, yo, my third is airtight. You're not getting in here. And the funny thing about Impact is I don't think he actually sent anything up that third ramp. He was just like, the natural is open, and he made a beeline for it, and that was the killing blow. I mean, it bought him so much time, did a lot of damage, and it forced errors out of MC as well. We talk about the recall. Those kind of mistakes don't happen unless you're really applying pressure to your opponent.
We were talking about errors here, and that's an error that you don't really expect to see in the final 8 of Dreamhack here. That sounds like an error to me that maybe MC is not able to bring his A game. Again, this is although he has a lot of experience over the past few years of winning at these major events. That seemed to be a bit of a brain fart. I'm wondering how he's going to do going now into game number 2. It's only a best of 3, guys, and a lot of times, even when players are at big tournaments such as this one, the early part of the event is usually done with games held backdoors, right? We can't have every game on stage, every game casted. So it is interesting now to see MCS did do very well there. But when it came to his first match here in Bucharest today on the stage, it was not the MC that we were used to seeing.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's part of what makes StarCraft so amazing. I mean, part of the legend of MC, where we give him all this credit, is that he travels so much and that he does so much work on the road and is still able to maintain the consistency of winning. Right now, we're seeing a little bit of mortality from him, sure. He made one glaring mistake, and Impact put himself in a place to capitalize on that mistake and take the win. And that's part of what makes StarCraft so great. If it was a more loose game and these players weren't as good as they were, that mistake would come and go. Impact's making his own mistakes. We're all chuckling and drinking beer, but no. We're dressed nice, we're sitting in front of a beautiful crowd, and we're watching amazing games.
I got some great news along with that, is that game number 2 is ready. The map is going to be Overgrowth. And are you guys ready to take it?
I've got some great news. We are ready to take it.
Let's do it. Let's start game number 2.
Thank you, guys. Sorry. I get the giggles sometimes. That's why people think I look like a giant child, and my hair. But I digress. Game number 1, you're dismissed. Thank you. That was good. We're having too much fun. Going to game number 2, it's going to be on Overgrowth. This is a map that even Artosis talked about this beforehand. This is the map he picks Impact to win on. I talked a lot about how with these new maps we saw MC even expressing frustration because a lot of times maps are kind of sensitive to Protoss players, or Protoss players are a bunch of babies, I can't tell. But if this map has certain features, like the third is super hard to take, which is what Protoss players have been doing for a long time now, or the natural is wide open, it tends to be very rough on them.
It really, really does. And spawning in the northeast side of Overgrowth, one of the new maps, as the red Protoss, we have MC.
And his opponents shocking everybody and forcing errors. The South Korean Zerg from Team Axiom, it's Impact.
Really, really solid play by Impact in game one right there. I mean, he didn't really have a mistake. The early Stalker surrounds, and even though we said, hey, that group of Lynx just killing the Stalker but dying, I mean, that could have thrown MC off. He had to use a lot of force field energy to stop that. And the run by later on, I felt Impact played really, really well that game.
He did, and I'll tell you what, the Axiom team has something special in him. He's getting the nerves out here. That's one of the big stories we've been talking about with these players. But also, he's not taking huge risks and winning off of huge risks. He's actually outplaying his opponents. He's playing super solid. A lot of times we look back at that game one and we say, well, gosh, MC made a huge mistake. That's why Impact won. But I really want to apply attention here. I feel like it's more Impact playing rock solid and fast and forcing errors on the otherwise very comfortable and savvy Protoss player that is MC. He just doesn't make mistakes like that, typically.
Yeah, you're very right. Like, we saw him open up a 9 pool or a 10 pool against Hero, but it was he had a good macro game to back it up afterwards.
Yeah.
And we talked about experience being one thing, like that's an advantage, but having no experience, it means that Impact also has nothing to fear going into this.
It can be. I'll tell you what, it's one of those things where you got to kind of learn how a guy responds to that. I mean, I look at some of these players like Life, who Life never seemed to have any fear at all.
Tasia as well, very young player.
No emotion whatsoever, actually, quite frankly. But with MC, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He talked about how when he was losing, he was feeling more inconsistent and scared and worried. With this WCS EU victory, he said he hasn't felt really worried at all. But Impact, as you said, is this a guy who, yeah, he can come into this and be like, what? I've won $600. What am I afraid of here?
Got nothing to lose. Yeah. When you're the underdog, you really have nothing to lose. And here, he certainly is the underdog. But he's showing us that, is there a reason for that? I mean, yes, his prize wallet isn't as big as MC's, isn't even remotely close, but he's playing incredibly well this series.
Well, it's a best of 3. I mean, this is not a super long series, potentially, in terms of how many games are played. And already, he's got 2 chances to win 1 more, and that's it. MC out.
So this opening by MC, going for a gateway in his base, what do you usually follow up with that? Because I don't really get to see this matchup a hell of a lot.
It could be anything. I mean, we see Impact actually pull in here and see just the 1 gas. That, of course, narrows the potential. Shouldn't be a Stargate with the Mothership Core out here as well, and Impact should have the information. But you have to be afraid, and what I really like about this for MC, is he can put a lot of buildings back here where they're harder to scout at this early stage. It could end up being a 4 or 5 gate, for instance. It could be a faster forge to get a +1 attack. Or he could add a robo. We've seen a lot of actually immortal 1 gas builds where you do 2 immortals, even a warp prism, and then a bunch of zealots. It's very powerful if you don't see it coming, or even a fast third. So that was super long-winded, but there's a lot of possibilities, actually.
Oh, and we do actually see 2 extra gateways going down here, 3 extra gateways going down before the Nexus is even completed. So that is exactly what you talked about, being able to hide buildings in the back of the base. So it looks like MC will be wanting to apply pressure pretty shortly, within the next minute or so. And Impact, does he know this is going to happen? He won't do for a while unless he scouts him.
Well, so Impact, again, I'm really quickly becoming a fan. I'm very impressed with this play. Typically, something happens at the front of this wall-in. A forge, gateways, sometimes even a Stargate will get stuff there, but the ability to wall in is something that Protoss need essentially. So if you're not doing that, something stinks. There's something weird going on. And Impact is, you can see him fidgeting around. Zerglings keep trying to get in here. We actually have an Overlord making its way into the main base. This is so good. Some Zergs are reluctant to sacrifice those early Overlords to get that scout, but here we can see, I don't know if MC wants to go forward with the 4 gate. I can't imagine it working after being scouted like this.
Scouting the main, sending Lings into the natural, and the Lings are then running on into the main too, just in case that Overlord didn't work out or didn't see everything. So Impact totally on top of this game right now within regards to what he sees. And MC having to warp Zealots and Sentries in the back of his base. that kind of aggression that we thought might happen with a probe on the map, it just can't be done. There's no pylon down anywhere, and that's mainly because Impact's just not letting that happen.
I'm kind of weirded out, because MC also just brazenly walked a probe down the middle of the map, and it was very easily found and hunted down by a pair of Zerglings. So if there were going to be any aggression, which at this point in time, I want to say no, but he still hasn't taken gas out as natural, he doesn't have the ability to warp in and reinforce. There's no robo for a warp prism. All I can see this doing is either that weird thing MC sometimes does where, you know, the other guy's like, well, surely now he's macroing, but instead he's just been warping it over and over again, or he takes a third off of this. But I'll tell you what, Demuslim, we're in strange, uncharted MC territory now, because this does not look normal.
One thing that it did do is it delayed this third base by Impact. He got a rather early lair. A pylon is going down over there too. So this lair going to be getting roaches out now, +1. Speedlings on the way, but MC's army is marching out across the map now.
11 roaches, though, Demuslim.
That is a lot of roaches, but there are going to be 5 gateways completed very soon.
Yeah, but with no gas to really support. He's going to add stalkers at the end. I mean, I'm not trying to be too negative here, but this is... you know what? Maybe you just cancel the third because you're not even mining from it. And it
do get called out, though.
That's a big catch right there, though. They're sandwiched in. Great transfuse to try to live as long as they can, but the roaches behind that are doing so much damage.
Yeah, these roaches, there's not really enough firepower to really deal with them. I mean, there's quite a few out here. And MC, I don't believe he was expecting this at all, but slowly microing these zealots, no, it's not enough. And Impact even has Lings on the other side of the map thinking, hey, this push isn't really that strong. He's probably got a third going up behind this. And he does not at all. So Impact, he's on top of his game right now.
Absolutely, and this is something we saw from even Jadon yesterday in a ZVZ where he knew he was going to hold off this attack, so he actually splintered off units to go make sure that he's even optimizing, doing damage in the back scene. And right now, Impact has the intel that there is no third. He sees another warping of units, and he knows he needs to focus everything on this right now, but he's playing so good.
Yeah, he's slightly supply blocked now, but with 4 overlords on the way, he was anticipating those overlords dying. And MC +1 has just finished for him, but he's against a pretty decent Zerg economy now, and certainly an army that you can't take lightly.
He does have energy on that mothership core, so there is the potential for an exit strategy, as it were, to get back home if this turns sour. And I'm getting nervous for him, though, because right now he's on very low tech. He has +1 attack, no armor coming in. These force fields, yeah, they shave off a couple of roaches, but again, roaches are a unit we talk about in terms of trade. You're not looking to keep and maintain roaches. As long as you're trading them cost effectively, it's a win.
Does get out of there. So the attack has been thwarted by Impact. And now what does Impact do? There's a lot of Lings on the way, but he is starting to drone. One thing that MC did get from all of that was a 51 harvester count against 44. So,
sure.
You know, within regards to his economy, it has not been totally bad. I mean, MC was making probes behind that. He's now making immortals, got the +1 weapons upgrade. And, you know, this game's kind of been reset here, I think.
For the time being, but Zerg is so damn explosive. I mean, keep your eye on that. It was 44. It should actually be very different a little bit, especially since right now Impact pushes up and sees, wait a second, you still don't have a third. I'm seeing immortals, and you're tucked in behind that wall. I need to get up to about 50 or 60 drones so that I can then just blast out the units, because it's going to come down to a 2-base timing attack from MC. I'm almost certain of it.
And yeah, as soon as you said that, 3 gateways start coming out, so it's going to be 7 or 8 gateways on the map with a robo facility. So MC, yeah, he does not plan on making this game last much longer, and for good reason. He didn't really deal economic damage there, besides forcing him to not make drones, and we see Swarm Hosts on the way too. Those are not a unit that you want to engage in the late game.
And that is the sands of time falling against MC right now. Right now, 3 or 4 Swarm Hosts. Okay, you can actually manage that with a big ball of Protoss units, but once it gets up to 8, 9, and 10, that is going to become insurmountable, and especially with how 2-basey this is. There's no AoE in sight. There's not going to be Colossus anytime soon. Obviously no Archons, no Storm, nothing like that. It's going to get tough. And right now, actually, a nice thing for MC is that we can see that this counterattack is being kind of held over his head. There's a chance that he's mid-map when he finds that out, but Impact pulled the cord a little bit too fast there.
I think Impact's handling this very well, though. Like, we talked about how the longer this game goes on for, the better it gets for Impact, and Impact is buying so much time with this counterattack. And MC warping in halfway across the map, it's very obvious what his intentions are. He needs to kill Impact very, very soon.
All right, and he's going to take that into account. Demuslim, you're right. Some time was bought here. A couple of cannons being made so that counterattack can't just kind of single-handedly shut down MC in the backfield. He's going to go for it. Mothership Core is lolling back there to just, again, photon overcharge in case he needs it. But so much time being bought. That swarm host count, it's at 8 now, and we actually have no more being added. Just sticking at 8 for right now, going up to 9. This is going to be so tough for MC.
It really is. The Warp Prism is out on the map now, which means he's going to be able to attack from multiple locations. Swarm Host, though, this is not looking nice for MC. No. You never want to be dealing with Swarm Hosts in high numbers. And 8, while not high, these Swarm Hosts deal a significant amount of damage.
And one thing to mention to Muslimy, I feel like MC is just now learning about this. We do have that counterattack at the natural. It's going to get held back. There's 3 or 4 cannons and several sentries as well as the motion core there, so very easily held off. But MC, you can see him kind of floundering around the middle of the map. I feel like he's realizing right now, he's saying, wait a second, I don't have an answer for the Swarm Host, and he's going to add the Robotics Bay right now, but off of 2 bases, with already 9 Swarm Hosts out there and 3 more being added, these Swarm Hosts are about to get aggressive, I feel.
They are, but I don't really know why he's moved out into the middle of the map here. He was looking in a pretty nice position with the counterattack in place to keep on delaying and delaying and delaying. As long as he just survives on 3 base, I feel he's going to be ahead. And yes, he does start moving back now. Yeah. He realizes the threat here, which is MC just moving out across the map. A Warp Prism drop in the main dealing, or potential to deal damage, but no, Impact is ready for it. Impact's playing so well.
He's looking at all the options, the Muslim, and he's coming up with answers right now. The Swarm Hosts are, they're walking way far forward. Miscontrol there from Impact, and 3 of them get shot down before they can offload their Locust. The rest are stuck behind force fields. If there was ever a chance for MC, it is certainly right now, as Immortal's doing as much work as possible. So many sentries putting up force fields, trying to divide and conquer, and he has parsed down this army to a digestible chunk to Muslim. It looks like drones being pulled as well. MC, where do you find this situation?
Oh, but this flank coming in from Impact from the top 2. This is getting really, really close right now. An Immortal does fall. Just 2 Immortals left in this mix.
Got to recall out.
Lots of drones join the fray too. This is getting pretty close, but MC's army does fall to Impact. Impact manages to hold off the push and has a nice supply behind it too.
He used that final time warp. Honestly, to Muslim, I think it's a huge mistake. He should have recalled out. The fight was going okay for a time period there, but Impact just swarmed in everything he had, almost quite literally, even pulling the drones just to add bodies to the mix. And now I'll tell you what, there's a, 60 supply differential. MC is closing in on mining out his main base. He has no third to fall back on. It's getting gloomy.
It is really getting gloomy. The Zerg doesn't have bad upgrades. He's 2-0 right now. He has Swarm Hosts on the field. Yes, his worker count is 47, but that's compared to a Protoss with 50. It's not as if MC's economy is blooming, and in the main base, he is going to be mining out pretty down soon. So Impact definitely looking fresh here, just taking really good fights, besides getting a few Swarm Hosts picked off, in which MC had to rely on a mistake being made by his opponent, but I don't think it was enough.
It was almost like an accidental trap of sorts. Like MC committed to that fight because of those first 3 Swarm Hosts where he's like, whoa, I've struck gold, but it ended up being, again, an army wipe. And MC's going to push out here, and he doesn't have much in the way of force fields to speak of. He's trying to take a fight here, shaves off some of the roaches. 2 Colossus now added to the mix. He does have range, and I'll tell you what, Impact felt comfortable for a second there, even moving out with the Swarm Host. He's going to back away. No 4th base behind this for him. So, you know, we've been pretty down and out about MC, and I've made that mistake several times throughout the tournament. This guy can do more with little than I've seen almost anybody else.
I like that he's adding on 9 drones now, because his economy has been pretty bad for a while, and I guess when you are against a player that you know hasn't got a 3rd base yet, why increase your economy when you're already technically ahead because you have a 3rd base? So Impact playing well, playing smart. MC, his force fields are always so nice, though. He does them in the perfect locations, and despite being behind the whole game, his force fields are really keeping him in this game.
Oh, absolutely. MC with the clutch play for sure. And you can tell it's a weird MC game when at minute 19 we see our first Twilight Council. That does not happen with him in any of the 3 matchups very often.
No, he loves Stalkers more than anybody else on the planet, I'm pretty sure.
He loves him so much he likes to see him jump too. He is up to 3 Colossus, but we do have Corruptors coming out for Impact and kind of taking a glimpse at Impact as well. The Swarm Host count is not... It's not super, super high. And I tell you what, Impact, while he is very much so ahead, both in supply and situation, he does have to be careful because these Swarm Hosts represent pretty much all his power in the field. If he loses these, it's a bunch of roaches and some Corruptors. That is not a very scary army.
No, certainly isn't. It's very obvious that Impact is worried, or his main concern is the Colossus right now. Yeah. He's got lots of Lings on the field, a pretty decent amount of roaches, and yes,
Speaking of which...
But here, this 3rd base is under assault right now. Probably won't be able to deal too much damage. No. You know, MC is he's on the ball right now. 4 Colossus in his army, so really good by Impact to make as many Corruptors as he does. with only 9 on the field. Actually,
Yeah.
for some reason I've seen the production tab with just Corruptors constantly being made, but they are constantly being made one by one. And Impact's economy, not the best right now.
No.
Still at 58 drones, but the gold base has just been taken.
Gold base is a big deal. It's going to be that 4th base, but of course with the gold it represents a lot more. Main is drying up for Impact as well, and something you've been kind of keeping tabs on. He's only at 58 drones just now, so it's been a low econ, hyper-aggressive game from both players for the most part, and that's interesting. If you don't keep tabs of that, especially as a Zerg, you don't get a bank. I mean, if you look at Impact's economy up there, yeah, he's spending his money as max, but we're not looking at a 2K, 3K bank, something like that. He's got just bare bones 100 minerals, so he has to be careful with the units that he has.
He's a battle Zerg by the looks of it. He wants to play a pretty low economy game and just deal as much damage as he can. He knows he's got MC on the back foot here. MC's only just secured his 3rd. And look, constantly Impact's looking for a way in to deal damage. So really, really crazy play.
And we're going to have a big engagement right now. The Corruptor's looking for the field of cover from the Locust, and the Roach is trying to open up an opportunity here. That is 4 Colossus behind, and MC is not taking the bait. He says, yeah, sure, go poke at the front of my natural. That's not nearly as important as potentially losing my army or you losing yours. And we see some damage from Impact, but with the Photon Overcharge, he will be kind of pushed back. MC looking for a hole between those Locusts.
Yeah, and again, good force fields, kind of keeping the army at bay, but it's a free army. Like, you can't do this forever.
Yeah.
Eventually, he's going to keep bleeding out units. Those Locusts do keep trickling through, dealing a little bit of damage, but once he's out of force fields, the only thing stopping these Locusts are these 4 Colossus, which this Corruptor count is not getting any lower. We're up to 15 right now.
No, that's the really scary part for MC. In that fight, he actually lost a few sentries. He just used up some of their energy. The Corruptor's actually going to dive forward here, spewing their green stuff all over him. But in doing so, he's getting dragged forward. However, if he kills these Colossus, the AoE will be gone, and that means those Swarm hosts are then empowered. It looks like, well, yes, okay, they will get both the Colossus. It might end up...
Oh, that one Colossus does get away by the skin of his teeth, but Impact, look at the supplies. That was a lot of Roaches dying and a lot of Colossus, but still no real way of dealing with these Swarmers. Although the Blink Stalkers are going to try and hunt them down with an Observer on the map, this could be huge if MC does get on top of them. And
he will. There's no support here. Just now Ling's moving out. And MC's got to be careful not to get sandwiched here too hard. Those Locusts do so much damage. Blinks forward to get past the mostly Ling and just a few Roach army, but again, these Stalkers are getting thinned out. The shield's getting peeled off of them. And it looks like he might make his way over to the Swarmos. He desperately needs to pick off a few of these, but he's going to micro against the Roaches and Lings.
Yeah, the next volley of Locusts was coming out, and if he blinks into those Locusts or just fights them head on, they actually destroy Stalkers. They deal roughly 20 damage per hit with 2 upgrades, is it? And attack insanely fast like a Hydralisk. So, yeah, but now an army moving from the north from MC2. These Swarm hosts are stuck in a pretty dicey situation here.
What a perilous situation. Impact with a huge lead, but that supply gap has closed down. Even another Colossus coming out, but it's short-lived and it does die. A few Swarm hosts died in the background, and the Stalkers of MC just kind of won't go away. They're blinking back. But it looks like the damage is starting to kind of rally in here, and the Stalker count is dwindling as Impact is starting to win these fights.
A fight happening on 2 screens right there, but MC kind of losing in both sides. All the Stalkers are falling. There's no real firepower left. While Swarm hosts are dying, so did MC's entire army.
He lost a bunch of sentries there. That's really gas heavy. His Stalker count is not super high, which is where he needs it. And again, we can see the tides are changing. Impact with that supply advantage. He's going to push these Swarmos maybe even a little bit further. And again, MC's just in the corner microing his heart out against forgettable units from Impact. He's not looking at that screen. He's like, yeah, that's just a move, man.
It really is. And MC's now down to just 1 mining base, which is his 3rd base. And as you can see, Impact's just throwing Lings at these Stalkers. And MC playing Ring Around the Rosie seemingly, but no, these Stalkers do all get surrounded, and that's the last of MC's force right there.
He's making some Archons at his 3rd, but as you point out, his natural now mined out. He's essentially down to 1 mining base. He can't add Colossus due to the Corruptor count being too high. He can't get beyond that. The Swarm host count, again, it's not super. We're not looking at 16 of them just pummeling him, but even this small number, he just can't deal with it. Every time he tries to get close, it's costing him sentries, it's costing him Stalkers, and Impact is defending really well.
Yeah, and I mean, these Archons are really good against Zerglings, but against the Swarm host, they are not enough. So we see a little surround happening here with the Zerglings on the Archons, but as soon as the Locusts get in range, those Archons melt.
And again, it's something you pointed out very early on, but is so true in these Swarm host games. MC cannot afford to be fighting these free units. Every time he loses anything, it's being taken out of his potential army that he's trying to amass. The Protoss is not a small unit count type of race. It's a big ball of destruction. And right now, MC's big ball of destruction is akin to like a yarn that a kitty cat would play with or something like that. It's not very scary at all.
It's not scary at all. One thing I really like about Impact's play here is the continuation of making Zerglings, even getting the crackling upgrade at this late stage of the game, because they have constantly been useful, and he was constantly looking for counterattacks and flanks for them. So really a new style of scrappy Zerg coming in here from Impact, and this is a lot of Roaches here right now.
Roaches riding that Locust wave forward, checking it out. They got to be feeling good right now. Looking at that army of MC, you are not super afraid of that. But again, Impact has gotten here off of rock solid play, and that's how he's going to win this game, even ducking down beneath the ground to heal for a moment, pushing forward again with the creep wave. Oh gosh, the Locust wave. Speaking the language of a lot of gamers, I suppose. The Archons at the front, they're going to get picked off.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the brunt of MC's army right there. While these Stalkers are good, and in the hands of MC, they're even better. But here, Impact coming in, and these are like the final moments of these games. Impact, the youngster from Axiom, with an upset victory over MC. Wow.
Convincing fashion.
Really nicely done back there by Impact. You could really see in game number 2 the patience he had there. Game number 1, pretty straightforward. He got in there with the lanes, did the damage. No way for MC to recover. But in game number 2, I liked the cool, calculated Impact that we saw. Not frantic whatsoever, really being patient.
It kind of sucks seeing MC go out, and I gotta say, he made that game closer than anyone ever could. He was dead for like 100 years in that game.
It's funny, he's so good at doing whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
Well,
he was making that work
to be honest,
for a long time.
He went for a strategy that I'm not in agreement with at all, and it got snuffed out very early on. Tried to follow it up, it fell on its face, but to your point, he then made it look really good.
Well, it looks like our player Impact is ready. Smix, take it away. We will be at that interview in just a second, but let's go ahead and talk about that series we saw there. I was pretty confident, as were the rest of us but you in Control, that MC was going to dominate, but at the same time, now that I'm seeing Impact here in front of an audience that is huge, and considering he's had very little experience playing in front of crowds this big, you really got to think that we all need to reevaluate a player like this and the potential he has to go really deep.
Yeah.
Except for you. Yeah. Yes.
I was dead on.
You were dead on.
In fact,
you were Miss Cleo back there. It was something else in Control. And actually, great news. We are ready for the interview. So let's see what Impact's thoughts are after that match.
Thank you very much, Tasteless. With the correct microphone, I am here with the winner who defeated MC 2-0. Give it up for Impact! Now, Impact, many people were actually wondering how you would perform on the main stage, as you were showing incredible play in the back tournament area, but a lot of players get very nervous playing on the main stage, and yet you seemed incredibly calm and collected. How is it doing that? 이제 그 많은 선수들이 이렇게 큰 무대에 올라와 있으면 긴장도 되고 그러는데 그 임팩트 선수는 전혀 긴장 안 보였어요. 그 어땠나요?
겉으로는 솔직히 그렇게 안 보였을지 몰라도 게임하면서 아무 생각이 안 들었었어요. 겉으로는 솔직히 긴장 안 한 것 같아도 게임 할 때는 정말 머리에 텅텅 빈 것처럼 아무 생각도 안 났어요.
So he says, even though on the surface I may have seemed like I wasn't nervous, as I was playing, honestly, all I could think was, wow, my mind feels completely blank. I have no idea what I'm doing. But it seemed even though he was in that state, he was still able to beat MC 2-0. Up next, Impact, you have a ZVZ. You'll be playing whether the winner of Jaedong or Snoot. Both of these players have proven that they have incredible ZVZs, so it is bound to be a really hard match. How do you feel going into that?
그 다음 상대는 저그전이올 건데 이재동 선수나 스누트 선수가 올라올 거예요. 근데 두 선수 모두 다 저그전 엄청 잘하는데 자신감 어떠세요?
솔직히 둘 다 해외에서 많이 알아주시는 저그분들이긴 하지만 저도 저그전에서 제일 자신 있기 때문에 누가 올라와도 상관없을 것 같아요.
So he says, actually, I know that those three players get a lot of recognition in the foreign community for having really good skills, but honestly, I'm really confident in my ZVZ, so I don't really care who comes up. Guys, give it up one more time for Impact. Guys at the studio desk, take it away.
Oh.